Good morning. Thank you all for joining us for this Giving Tuesday morning briefing, hearing from some of our local partner organizations, and also a little bit about what we're seeing across the region as we kind of start this Giving Tuesday. I'll say a couple things here to just frame up the day, and then give our amazing partner organizations a chance to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their work, what they're thinking about as we get into this giving season. And then we'll open it up for some questions. So I'll go ahead and start by just saying, obviously, not surprisingly for nonprofits everywhere, but especially here in the DMV, the theme of the year is uncertainty, right? There's obviously constant challenges, but one of the biggest challenges we hear from our partners is not necessarily knowing what's coming next, right? For funding, for different shifts to their work, for needs in the community that are continuing to evolve. And that's both a lot of stress for the folks that do that work. 2 out of 3 local executive directors are feeling a sense of burnout. But it also means that community support is critical, right? If we don't know about some of the institutional funding sources we've historically relied on, we're more and more reliant on individuals in the community stepping up with their resources, with their time, with their voice to support this work. So a really critical year to give local and to think local in your giving. We're excited to be joined by a handful of organizations you could support today that represent the more than 200 as part of our Give Local Together campaign today. So with that, we'll go ahead and dive on in here. And I'd love to get started. Akakik Foundation, if you want to introduce y'all and talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah, thank you and good morning. I really appreciate this opportunity to share our work in the community we serve. The Advocate Foundation, we're a regional nonprofit based in Piscataway Park. It's a national park that protects the ancestral homelands of the Piscataway people and one of the most culturally and ecologically significant landscapes in our region. Our mission brings together education, conservation, and cultural heritage preservation, all rooted in deep partnership across Southern Maryland. Each year, thousands of students learn directly from the land, forming connections with the river, walking forest and meadow trails, and engaging in experiences shaped by Indigenous knowledge and community wisdom. Our educators extend this impact by supporting teachers with culturally grounded, place-based resources that strengthen belonging and elevate environmental and cultural stewardship. Our conservation work reinforces this learning with dedicated volunteers. We've restored sensitive ecosystems, removed invasive species, and reduced erosion to protect the Potomac River and the cultural landscapes that hold generations of memory. This year is underscored by the growing need for authentic cultural learning, meaningful outdoor engagement, and spaces where young people can step into stewardship and leadership. Amid some of the challenges from shifting weather to increased visitation and changing in our governmental partners' focus, our community's response has been uplifted. The youth leadership is growing, families continue to return, and partners stand with us in lifting up these untold stories of the Potomac region. And so this year on Giving Tuesday, we're reminded that this work moves forward because so many believe in a future where young people have access to transformative outdoor learning, communities have healthy land and water, and cultures have their stories honored and protected.
Thank you so much. And that untold stories so critical and a big part of what we think about this Giving Tuesday. The 200 plus organizations that have such great stories that don't always get told, and the communities they represent, whose stories don't always get told. Thank you for being with us. How about Ally Theater Company?
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Lori Pitts, and I'm the artistic director of Ally Theater Company and founder of our main programming arm, Voices Unbarred. So I'm also very excited to be here and share with you all today. Ally Theater and Voices Unbarred, what we do is we harness the power of theater to drive meaningful criminal legal reform in the Washington, D.C. metro area. So we're at the intersection of theater and advocacy, and we work alongside people who are currently and formerly incarcerated to shift narratives, imagine alternatives, build community power, and influence change. So we work with people who are currently and formerly incarcerated, and later, I'll be joined by my colleague Antoine Holman, who has been a community advocate with us and is now also on our board. So yes, he'll represent those people that we work with. And through performances and workshops and strategic partnerships, we use theater not only as a creative outlet, but as a vehicle for advocacy and impact. And we always like to say that theater, can humanize those who are the most impacted. It can challenge institutions, spark critical conversations that move people and communities and decision makers towards tangible reform. So our workshop uses a unique type of theater called Theater Bucharest that uses lived experience and theater exercises to examine the systems around us and create solutions. And our workshops create spaces where people can build skills, process trauma, reclaim their humanity, and imagine new possibilities for our justice system. Our workshops also culminate in some original performances that are created and performed by people directly impacted by incarceration. And we invite audiences to see those so that it can lead to narrative change, collaborative solutions building, and direct contact with decision makers for those who are impacted. Finally, we also form strategic partnerships and policy organizations to infuse policies with direct lived experience, build community-driven solutions, and design creative approaches that are human-centered and don't just rely on punishment and control. And we partner with organizations like DC Justice Lab, who are then able to use their expertise to also transform those ideas into action. I feel like, should I speak a little bit more about our work for this year, or are we passing it off? Okay, I can speak a little to that now too. So yes, as we all know, that this year we all kind of saw a little bit about how control and power impacts us, and I think our work is we're obviously focused on the criminal legal system, but it's very much about the systems around us and how we like to hold people accountable. And so I think in DC in particular, we saw, these tough on crime responses kind of resurge and expand. And when we saw how when when they feel fear, they want control, and the default is always incarceration, punishment, and putting people away. And so we have found that, the people we serve need our work even more, deeper support this year. And we need more spaces for healing, connection, and have voices heard. And also, we're anticipating an increase in people who are incarcerated and need our programs. So our work has become even more urgent this year and coming up next year. And so we're excited to participate in GivingTuesday this year. We're trying to raise $4,000 to help us expand our programming. We want to offer a facilitator training program so that we can have more facilitators who are ready and trained in our approach to work with more people directly impacted by incarceration and build capacity so that we can work with more people and change the system and create the world we want to see.
Thank you so much. I think unfortunately that urgency is a common theme, I think, for many of our partners right now, not just a growing need, but a growing need today. Thank you for grounding us in that. Many languages, one voice.
Hi, my name is Hiram Cortez. I'm Executive Director of Many Languages One Voice, MLOV. MLOV was founded in 2010, at that time with the sole purpose of leading the DC Language Access Coalition, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. But since then, we've expanded basically to broadly work with immigrants to help improve the well-being and prosperity of the immigrant community in DC. So we do this through leadership development, skill building and workforce development programs for youth and adults here in DC, and and by advocating for improved language access within DC government agencies. We also partner with other organizations to advocate around other issues that impact immigrants in DC. So I'll talk a little bit about our programs and our work. So our youth programs include middle school and high school, after school and summer programs. We also have a mentorship program for youth 15 to 24, and we do a lot of one-on-one coaching with youth to help them define their goals and move towards their goals in regards to life and school and career. And we're proud about the growth we've had with our youth programs. We've had a lot of interest in them, much more interest than what we can basically handle and with the space that we have in our programs. For example, last summer we received 155 applications for our 5-week summer program, and we could only accept 55 given the space limitations and the staffing limitations. So really the support through this campaign for Giving Tuesday would help us expand our capacity to serve our community. But we're proud of the success we've achieved also in regards to the outcomes of the programs. So last summer, 86% of our students felt that their leadership skills had grown after the program. 93% said their teamwork skills had improved. 87% felt more prepared for the next school year. And more than 80% said they had learned about new cultures. And critically, very close to 100%, 97 said that they would be interested in participating again. So we know through the data that the programs are, and just from being there, seeing the youth that they enjoy them and they're growing and they're learning, not just during one program cycle, but through years, because we work with youth for years, 3, 4, 5 years. Youth have been with us and on to college and beyond. So this year we also launched 2 new programs to help youth prepare for college and other post-secondary opportunities. The first is a program called Future You College Prep Bootcamp, which we did over this summer. It's a 2-week intensive program for rising 11th graders and 12th graders to help envision, plan, and move towards their post-secondary goals. It was very successful. 85% of students agreed that the program helped them understand their pathways available for them for post-secondary. And the other new program is a program called Advancing to College, which is for first-year college students, helping them navigate that. And most of the students are first-generation college students and immigrants in the U.S. So that's a summary of our youth programs, which provide a safe space for youth to thrive and be supported during this difficult time. On the adult program side, we have a few programs. I'll describe a couple of them. One of them is our digital literacy program, which helps adults develop the essential digital skills for today's workforce and economy. We know that digital skills, the basic skills on using the computer, navigating the internet safely, are essential for self-sufficiency and navigating through life basically nowadays. So we've been working on this for a couple of years and have trained over 120 community members with these skills through our cohort-based programs that are 8 weeks. And we also launched a new program this year called Talent in Action. So through this program, we're helping immigrants leverage the education and work experience that they have from their home countries to leverage that here in the U.S. We find, as we all know, that many times immigrants have this experience and skills, but they are working, a low-paying job that doesn't utilize those skills at all for years and decades. So our goal is to change that. And we do that through a 6-week job readiness program, followed by a 10-week paid internship program with a partner employer. And this is, unique and innovative because, internships typically are seen for college students and young people. But, we're changing that because, everybody should have access to an internship to advance their career. And the last part is our advocacy work, which I mentioned centers around our leadership of the DC Language Access Coalition. Through this coalition that's made up of, over 24 DC nonprofit organizations, we work to ensure the implementation of the DC
This
Language
ring
Access Act of
from this home
2004,
with a blurred back.
which requires government agencies to provide translation and interpretation for local services like at the DMV, at the Department of Human Services, and more. And to do this, we partner largely with the DC Office of Human Rights, which is the agency that works to enforce the law, this law in DC. So that's it describes most of what we do, but we do a lot more, especially this year. This had been, especially difficult for immigrants, as we all know. So we would appreciate your support as part of the Giving Tuesday campaign.
Great, thank you so much. And I think something I heard all y'all touch on, and I know is very true. And I'll also say we might be joined by one other organization here, in just a little bit, Teaching for Change. And if so, we'll pause and give them a second to introduce themselves. But until then, we'll go ahead and dive into some of the questions that we had ahead of time. And one of those is just, again, as you all kind of mentioned or alluded to at least a little bit, is how y'all are working with others in the community right now. So I'd love to hear a little more, just as you're thinking about that kind of opportunity to partner. As you're thinking about how you rely on other kind of allies in the community, what does that look like right now for y'all in terms of how you're partnering?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, so we really work deeply within our local Southern Maryland community. We work through our school systems mostly to be able to reach a lot of the systemically to change the education curriculum and the standards, right? So traditionally, we as an organization has hosted like field trips and experiences, and what we've realized is that if the teaching in the classroom isn't consistent with what we're teaching on the ground, we're kind of fighting an uphill battle. So we work at the system, like administrative level, with our local schools, colleges, as well as universities, and then we integrate that with community voices. So we partner with tribal community leaders, knowledge keepers, cultural bearers, as well as others within our surrounding neighborhoods, right? So we're uplifting Black and Indigenous voices and of those stories. And also, as we're working with our conservation partners, we're blending the education, the history behind how we got here, with the need for now, for the future. We really think about the next seven generations, because the impact that we make today, the decisions that we make that impact the land, the environment, our education, really changes the future. So we kind of really think of a forward perspective on the work that we do.
I can chime in. I think for us, partnership is one of our core values because we believe that partnership is the way to expand our impact and kind of use everyone's expertise together to have a larger impact on the system. So we partner with all sorts of community organizations, including churches, advocacy organizations, other community nonprofits, and theaters as well. And some of our closest partnerships are with groups like DC Justice Lab or Unlock the Box, and people doing work in the community to change policy and at the systemic level. And so we'll partner with DC Justice Lab. We offer it's called legislative theater. So audiences can come in, see a performance put on by our community advocates who all have lived experience, and then together co-create solutions and policy ideas based on that. And then DC Justice Lab uses their expertise to take that away and kind of incorporate it into their work so that we're having community-led creation. And same thing with Unlock the Box. We kind of do similar work with them, but also this year we added doing invisible theater. So if you're not familiar with that, I like to say it's like the TV show, the What Would You Do, where they're kind of like, they do a scene, but no one knows it's a fake scene. But in this, the goal is to raise awareness around an issue or ask questions, but again, without people knowing that that's what you're doing necessarily. So we set a scene this year, a few places around the city, around ending solitary confinement, so that hopefully that would raise awareness through theater, about what's going on in DC jail and beyond. And so things like that, we love using theater to kind of help uplift all of these different issues. And the final thing I'll share about like partnership is we also partnered with the Maryland Second Look Coalition. And I'm really excited to share about that one because earlier this year, we created a performance with all people who are currently incarcerated, submitting pieces all about their experience with extreme sentencing. And we did 2 performances in March and April. And then in April, the Second Look Act in Maryland was actually passed into law. So we were really excited that through partnership, we were able to kind of use our skills to uplift those voices and change the narrative around it, and also organize people to care about this issue. And we had a really big impact in that way. So partnership, good.
So I can say that for us, in addition to partnering with other organizations and creating new alliances this year, given the circumstances, I want to say that the highlight that our biggest and most important partner and our most important relationship is the one we have with our immigrant community members that we work with and who we work for. They're who they are who we center in all of our work. So we work to build the leadership capacity of immigrant community members so that they can, be active players in creating a better city that's welcoming for everybody, including immigrants. And as I mentioned earlier, we work with them over years and multi-generationally to over time, little by little help folks move their lives forward in different ways, not just through one program, but through various programs and all of that. An example of the leadership development is our Youth Leadership Council, which is made up of youth from middle school all the way to our new college program, and they work together to organize, other youth in our community for positive action. For example, this holiday season, the Youth Leadership Council is doing a food distribution, initiative, distributing holiday meals to folks in the community, and that's all led by them. And we're doing that as EMLA by supporting the Leadership Council and their idea. And so I just want to say that that's our most important partner is our community members, and that's how we see them.
Great. And Keisha, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself in Teaching for Change, and while doing, maybe just add on there a little bit about how you all view some of your partnerships in the community as being important for the work.
Yeah, hi y'all. So Keisha, she, her pronouns. I serve as the Deputy Director of Teaching for Change, and we are a pre-K through 12 education nonprofit that's headquartered here in Washington, D.C. And we do place-based work throughout the DC metro area with educators, particularly around anti-racist education and social justice praxis in the classroom. And I love what you were just saying, Hiram, about the community and like who you serve. And we recognize that for more than 36 years, we serve the educators, and therefore, through our work with supporting them, we're also uplifting the next generation of individuals who are really going to change the world. And I think in this current moment, what we're witnessing here in the DC metro area in particular, it has definitely reminded us of how important community engagement really is, and how we center the voices of educators who right now are feeling criminalized in many places across the country, but then also just thinking about the important work that they do as first responders in community and how we continue to support them, and support the families and communities that they serve. And so I think being community centered has very much always been a part of the history and culture of Teaching for Change, but I see that coming up a lot more in how we're connecting with other organizations, like Empower Ed DC here, thinking about CARE Anacostia, and CARE Washington DC overall, our partners at Critical Exposure, Black Swan Academy. And so thinking about that, not just from a perspective of what it means to be in the space of education, but really all the aspects of what that looks like. So whether that's advocacy with Empower Ed, helping and supporting amplification of youth voice with Black Swan Academy and Critical Exposure, but then also thinking about that family and community engagement and how we support our greater like experiences that are happening. And so through CARE, through Empower DC, through this rise of Defend DC education, when the budget was at the top of the conversation and experience, recognizing like how we all step up and step in to support community members who are being attacked and really not feeling as much support as they really should. And so seeing that has been inspiring, despite what we are witnessing right now. It's been hopeful, recognizing that we do take care of us and continuing to center that in the work that we do, not just for today, but what the future will bring as well.
Thank you. And I know there's a lot for all of y'all that you could share in more detail about the work you do in our community. But I'm curious, for those that might be less familiar with your organizations or with the specific populations they all serve, what's just one or two things that comes to mind that you want folks to understand about the work you're doing right now and the communities you're working alongside right now? And anyone can jump in.
Think I can answer that for hey, how y'all doing? My name is Antoine, here representing Voices on Bar. What I would want the community to know about the work that we do is how important and how beneficial it is to have avenues and platforms for individuals to be able to express themselves, whether it's youth, whether it's formerly incarcerated, whether it's just the community, who really has to express themselves. Um, and so I really want them to know, like, out of all the spaces I've been in, it's been no better room, better vehicle to really get messaging across outside of the arts. Um, I believe, just from my experience personally, for myself, I've went to prison at a young age. I served over 20 years in prison. I was originally sentenced to life. I was released under the Incarceration Reduction Act in DC, Second Look Act. And so my first job, I was actually hired as a resident artist for poetry. And so just being in, coming home after 20 years to that space, and being able to meet so many great artists throughout the city. I was able to host my own poetry shows and invited formerly incarcerated members of our community, and just the appreciation and just that was for a lot of people, that's the only way, they'll be able to get their story out and be able to change perceptions. I mean, I think it just created such diverse rooms, you know what I'm saying? Like just art itself and just people just being able to express themselves. That's just the one thing I think just transcends class, race, and everything. And so to be able to provide those platforms, like I say, for our youth and for our community is very important. It's very important. And with this work. And so I can go on and on, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I said, Antoine's one of our community advocates. Also one of our newest board members, so very excited to bring him
Oh
on
yeah,
board.
I was so excited. I forgot to announce that, and it has been such an honor and a pleasure to be a part of something. I had the pleasure of being a part of two plays uh, with Lori and Voices Unbarred. And man, it was beautiful. Like I say, to come home and I say not just to be able to express ourselves to get our stories out, but to educate as well. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like the easiest way to really feed someone our stories. You know what I'm saying? Like someone to really sit down and really listen to us. And so it's just been wonderful. And so to be a part of a board where I can actually contribute my lived experiences and my creativity and to such a big cause. It's bigger than the arts, it's a big thing. And I really believe in what Voices Unbarred can do and what they're going to do. And it's an honor to be a part of.
We're honored to have you as a part of it. Yeah, I was just gonna add on to your beautiful statements about just, yeah, like that theater and the arts are not just for entertainment, but we're strengthening individuals. We pay them for their work. We're building skills. I think our last cohort, there was a 28% increase in adaptability. And then we're also bringing the community together to kind of create these changes together and envision the world we want and take action on it. And then on that systems level, we're using the arts to actually make tangible change, like the second look act that I mentioned. So yeah, I just wanted to add to what you're saying about the power of the arts and how it can go deeper than just entertainment.
Wow, that's powerful. I don't know how you follow up on that. Thank you. I'll jump in and add something about the constituents that we serve. So we're headquartered in Prince George's County, kind of the southern tip of Prince George's County. And many of the students that we serve are public school students, Title I students. 60% are from Prince George's County, but we do serve students from throughout the Washington, D.C. metro area. And many of these students are coming to the park and experiencing nature for the first time, really. And as I always say, nature nurtures, right? It's healing. Coming out of the post-pandemic era, which I still say we're still healing from. Yeah, I think it was like 2022. The students, they were a little off the hook coming off the bus. And then I realized they had never been on a field trip before. They had entered into the pandemic probably as like kindergartners, right? And so we really are providing a space where students can run and play and kind of really nurture that social and emotional learning, hands-on experiences. They're able to like do water quality monitoring, but also like learn about the ecosystem in a way that they haven't been able to before. And I think right now we're seeing a greater demand within our school systems with budget cuts, specifically for the public schools and Title I schools. And transportation funding is the greatest need. And so we provide that support so that way that every kid can get outdoors. And it is really special because, you know, we get thank you notes from the students that are heartwarming. And our educators really pour their hearts into the time that we spend. So we usually serve about two schools a day throughout the school season. We would love to be able to take more, but you know, we just are limited with our capacity. So we actually turn away more students than we care to mention.
Well, I want to say that firstly that immigrants, come to DC to move their lives forward, not for any of the, hurtful reasons that we hear about in the media, and that every day, through our programs, we see how strong and resilient our immigrant families are, how much they care about their communities, our communities, and how much they're contributing to DC with their talent, their brilliance, and their hard work. But unfortunately, in the media, it's portrayed differently. But we know that that's not true. We see it every day with the youth, with our parents, um, and so that's why we've continued to to work hard to be able to continue these programs during what's been a very difficult year. Fun in a lot of ways, including with funding being much more difficult to obtain, both on the government side and the foundation side. I believe that a lot of times funders are feeling uncomfortable with funding immigrant-focused projects, due to political reasons. So, the support from individuals in our community has become even more important for us to continue our work. Um, we've been wanting to basically, in whatever way, however we can, keep our foot on the gas pedal, I guess, as they say this year, but with our programs, for example, because say for our youth, every year that passes is going to be extremely important for them. What a young person does in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, whether they're on track, is going to have a big impact in their life trajectory. So, we can't afford to not be there for them and not provide the programs that we do. So just want to highlight that and just say how important, the support from individuals is at this time.
Yeah, I think starting a little bit about what was shared, I think the biggest piece for us is being able to provide educators with just like the support that they need as community leaders, and creating space where they can remember that they're not by themselves in this process and then that they're not by themselves in this experience overall. And while the DMV is a little bit unique in terms of what educators may experience, in comparison to other places in the country, the reality is still the same, that there's like this overtaxing of time and effort and energy in ways that we haven't really provided the resources to adequately support in many ways. And so the community spaces that we create through our working groups, the professional development that we offer through our curriculum fairs and other resources, I think really just give educators a space to just have a balm in the midst and to really just like breathe through the profession that many of them have chosen. Many of them also themselves are generational educators when they think about the families and communities that they come from, whether that's like aunts, uncles, or parents that have been teachers themselves, and how they continue to think about their responsibility in the community work that they give. And so providing just that like momentary reprieve in many ways, whether it's like by the week or by the day through the work that we do, is really central to how we continue to support this experience, and uplifting that education is a public good. And I think at the end of the day, that's really the most important piece that we offer as Teaching for Change, is to continue to center those stories, the teaching stories, the praxis, being able to offer other educators lessons and resources and content that they can continue to bring into their classrooms. And again, from that, like, I think Lori, you were mentioning just a little bit about that like narrative power shift, and really just really thinking about what that means for all of us, whether we are in the classroom, whether we have young kids in the classroom or not, but what our responsibility as community members is to support education as a public good, especially with so much divestment right now in the public education space. And so where we can continue to offer educators that platform, and center their stories and their passion for this work, is what we will continue to do as long as we have the capacity and ability to do that at Teaching for Change.
Great, thank you all. And as we get ready to wrap up, last question here is one looking forward, right? So plenty of challenges, plenty of uncertainty, um, and probably not a lot of reason maybe for unbridled optimism, but maybe some realistic optimism. So I'd love to hear kind of what's keeping you kind of grounded and excited as you think about the year ahead for your work.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I think you're right to say there's been this year been about as gloomy as today is, right? Um, I would say out of this year, being selected as a board member with Voices on Bar um, is been, really a bright spot for me because, you know, um, like I say, the arts being able to I understand the power of expression personally. That's what, really played a big factor in me persevering 21 years throughout the whole federal system, being able to write, be published as a poet, to come home and to participate in plays and just to see the power of the arts, to go into schools I've been in, whether Georgetown, Anacostia, Brookline Middle School, Curl, reciting poetry with youth, and just countless examples in rooms I've been in. And so I think regardless of what happens, people will always really appreciate just genuine, just a genuine ear and genuine voices, and just genuine expression, and I think that's something that's not going nowhere. And so I say I'm really optimistic. I say just not with the power of it, but just the opportunity. And I really think it's like sky's the limit when it comes to that. It's all in the power of what can you create. And so long as like our power is in what we can create, you always have to be optimistic.
That quote, that's amazing. Yeah, I feel like imagination is like inherently a part of our work and inherently like gives hope because it's reminding me of a quote from one of our other community advocates. I think he was like, even when things are down, sorry, I'm gonna misquote it a little bit, but he was like, even when things aren't going so great, like I have the imagination to imagine how it could go better. And so just you saying that, Antoine, reminded me of that quote. Like, yeah, I feel like the people we work with and alongside always bring hope to me, even when it's feeling like the systemic issue is too big or things are like going this way. It's like these people who've experienced some of the worst are still like, no, but we can create something better and like we can band together, create that community change. And so I feel like every day I'm just inspired to kind of keep expanding this work and bring more people into the creation. And yeah, I feel like Antoine, you captured it, so I won't even add too much more.
Yeah, I just want to say I've been just a strong advocate for advocacy through art, and like I say, just being a part of Voices on Bar and being partners with Lori. I say it's been beautiful, and so I'm so optimistic and just can't wait to get to it. I know what we're gonna do, and I just can't wait. So
I'd probably um, picking up a little bit of that. Like hope for me is seeing community come together, and really thinking about the ways that, like I had mentioned earlier, this time that we are witnessing here in DC is not for the faint of heart. And there's definitely a lot of factors that are converging all at the same time. I think that I continue to be inspired by and just grounded in is recognizing how community continues to consistently step.
For us, or for me, what gives me hope is that, during what has been a really difficult year, as we know. We have seen that the broader DC community cares a lot about immigrant families. We have seen folks with privilege rally around immigrant families to help defend, protect, and support them. So that makes me feel, really hopeful that 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 folks are there to support us, and that our work will continue in one way or another. Um, I also always feel hopeful when I talk with our youth participants and hear about their dreams and how much they care about their families, and see them work hard each day to against much adversity to move their lives forward and reach their goals. I know how much many of them have been through um, in their lives and their journeys, and despite all of that, they're still optimistic and positive and 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 want to move forward. And that always it makes me feel hopeful for the future, and honestly, really moved and inspired by them, by their strength.
Yeah, and I'll say I think what keeps me grounded and hopeful for the future is that, we've done the hard work and laid the foundation for transforming our communities through our work. And just this year, the outpour of people who would reach out and just check in on us, it kind of reminds you that the community cares, right? We've always, and I always say we, like us Southern Marylanders, we've always been kind of a little isolated outside of the metro area, and we've always tended to ourselves and taken care of our communities. Just seeing the outpour of everyone coming together to support just our local communities through food assistance and things of that nature. People reach out and they say, "How can I help? Can we?" We're often seen as a conduit to be able to help reach and connect others with other partners within our communities, right? We're kind of one of those conveners. So we get people who reach out and just say, "Hey, I'm thinking of you," or I get like a text message of a picture, someone visited the park and celebrating. We just honored 2 years of research and development and installed new exhibits. And so our staff and our community is really excited about the momentum that we have created. And we're just going to keep going, right? I think as we really lay that groundwork for the future 7 generations, I just have hope in the future because I'm seeing our young people being inspired and energized, and we just got to keep lifting them up.
Such a good reminder, right, that it takes community to support community. I think that's a real example of what y'all are sharing there, and the power of stories and authentic stories that y'all talked about across today. Thank you all so much for being with us on what I know was a busy day for all of y'all. Again, we hope that folks will support both your great work today on Giving Tuesday and that of our other 200 plus partners at givelocaltogether.org. Happy Giving Tuesday to y'all. Thank you all for being here and have a good rest of the day.